Welcome back to the quiet hours, where the night doesn't just watch, it waits. Tonight's tale comes from Maple Lane, a street so ordinary it almost convinces you nothing could ever reach through the dark and touch what's yours. But tonight, the things that arrive on your porch aren't packages. Sometimes they're invitations. Sometimes they're already inside. From Dusk Till Dawn presents The Porch Pirate. Evan had always liked the quiet of Maple Lane. The houses sat far enough apart that you could pretend the neighbors didn't exist. No streetlights reached the end of his driveway. The porch bulb was the only glow for 50 yards in any direction after sunset. And he liked it that way. Small, personal, controllable. Then the bulb began to behave like it had a pulse. Not every night, just the ones when the air felt slightly heavier, when the crickets stopped early, and the silence pressed against the window like a second skin. At 3:07 a.m. Always 3:07. The light would stutter. Long, slow blinks, then quick, frantic ones, then long ones again, like breathing, like someone outside was trying to signal in Morse code they'd forgotten the alphabet to. Evan replaced the bulb twice. Third time he left it off entirely. The flickering continued anyway. Somehow brighter in the dark, as though the absence of light had only made the thing casting the shadow more determined. On the fourth night, he mounted the trail camera, cheap infrared model. Lens pointed at the door. He told himself he was documenting a short in the wiring. He told himself he would laugh at the footage tomorrow. The clip opened up at 3:07. The porch was empty for 6 seconds. Then, something unfolded from the shadow beside the railing, longer than it had any right to be. Pale limbs that bent in places arms shouldn't bend. Skin the color of old milk under a streetlight. No face worth calling a face. Just a smooth oval with two sunken pits where eyes might go if eyes were optional. It did not step onto the porch. It arrived there. One moment air, the next weight on the railing, knees folding backwards, spine curving into a question mark. Fingers, far too many joints, curled around the wood like roots finding purchase. It perched. It stared at the door. Not the camera, the door, as though the wood and the glass were thin enough to see through, and it was deciding whether the invitation had already been given. Evan watched the timestamp crawl. 6 minutes, 43 seconds of perfect stillness. Then the thing tilted its head too far, vertebrae popping audibly on the audio track, and it unfolded itself back into the night. He played it again, and again, and again. The sound of those vertebrae stayed in his ears all day. He began to notice other things. The welcome mat was never quite centered anymore. It would be rotated 5 degrees clockwise when he came home from work. He straightened it. The next morning it would be rotated again, the same 5 degrees, as though someone had stood on it and turned slowly to look back at the street. A single cricket appeared on the porch every evening, dead on its back, legs curled in perfect symmetry, not crushed, not eaten, just stopped like a toy switched off. The screen door's hook latch began to feel greasy, even after he cleaned it. Not oil, something warmer, something that had smelled faintly of copper and wet paper when he brought his fingers close. He started sleeping with the bedroom door open so he could hear the porch. Then he started sleeping on the couch with the bat beside him. Then he stopped sleeping. On the 8th night, the camera caught 2 of them. The larger one arrived first. Same perch, same patient stare. A moment later, something smaller scuttled up the front porch steps. Same small, pale skin, same elongated limbs, but hunched and quick. Like a child imitating an adult it had only seen in photographs. It settled on the mat, rocking gently, knees drawn into its narrow chest. The larger one reached down with one impossibly long arm and stroked the smaller one's back, slow, deliberate, almost tender. The smaller one leaned into the touch, then lifted its head toward the door and opened its mouth. No sound came out, but the porch light flared once, bright enough to bleach the footage white for a frame, then dimmed to a sullen orange. When the 2 shapes finally withdrew, something remained on the mat. A dead sparrow. Wings spread, body arranged in the shape of a heart. A single twig crossed beneath it like an arrow pointing toward the door. Evan did not sweep it away that time. He photographed it from the window, then left it there all day. By the evening, the bird was gone. In its place, a single white feather, laid across the threshold like a key that did not fit any lock he owned. He began to leave the inner door unlocked at night. Not the screen door, just the wooden one. He told himself it was an experiment. He said if he removed one barrier, the thing might lose interest. He told himself a lot of things. On the 12th night, the camera recorded nothing. No flicker. No shapes. No gifs. Evan sat on the couch until dawn, bat in hand, waiting for the relief that never came. At 6:42 a.m., he stood. He walked to the front door, turned the knob. The screen door was already unlatched. It swayed gently in the morning breeze, hook dangling loose. On the welcome mat lay 3 small, white stones, arranged in a perfect equilateral triangle. In the center of the triangle, another feather. This one not white, but pale gray, streaked with something dark that looked very much like dry blood. Evan stared at the arrangement for a long minute. Then he stepped outside. He did not pick up the stones. He did not close the screen door. He simply stood there, barefoot on the cold wood, looking out at the empty street where the sun was just beginning to burn off the fog. Behind him, very softly, the porch light clicked on. It stayed on all day. And when night fell again, exactly at 3:07, it began to flicker once more. Slow, patient, almost polite. But this time Evan did not check the camera. He did not pick up the bat. He simply walked to the front door, turned the deadbolt, and pulled the inner door open an inch. Just an inch. Enough for the night air to slip inside. Enough for something else to consider the invitation finally accepted. The light blinked once, long and graceful. Then the house went dark, and somewhere on the porch, something very tall settled onto the railing to wait, patiently, as though it had all the time in the world. And perhaps now, so did Evan. The end. The house on Maple Lane claimed its guest. No more hesitant perches on the railing. No more careful gifts at the threshold. The mat lies tilted 5 degrees. The door breathes open, just that sliver. Whatever unfolded from the shadows didn't visit. It arrived. It entered. It stayed. Sleep tight. Or don't. From dusk till dawn. If this story made you wonder about what's on your porch at 3:07 a.m., like, share, subscribe. I know it sounds cliche, but all that stuff really helps.